Don't Look Up. When I first heard about this film, I went on Netflix and I thought to myself, it just looks like another Netflix original with an impressive ensemble cast that might or might not get a bit of Oscar attention. And I'm starting to find that Netflix originals are only getting better, and it's only a matter of time that a Netflix film will eventually win Best Picture at the Oscars. So with the nominations flowing in, you know, the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choices, the Oscar ones still haven't been announced just yet. I thought I'd give this a try, and as a build up to the Oscar season, I thought I'd, you know, just catch up on more and more of them until the actual ceremony begins. But I think what attracted me the most to watching Don't Look Up was the fact that it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, who is obviously one of the world's most popular movie stars. And I'm thinking to myself now, because he's a lot more of an environmentalist and getting involved with, you know, climate change and all of that stuff, that his film appearances are getting more limited and therefore making them more valuable. And besides Leo DiCaprio's got a terrific ensemble cast as well. So I thought, yeah, this is going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this film. So in Don't Look Up, we follow two astronomers, one with years experience and the other a PhD candidate, as they discover a comet in the reaches of space and is headed for Earth. Knowing that this would end the world, these two scientists embark on a global media tour to influence the severity of this comet and for the government to take action before it's all too late. Now, the film was written and directed by a guy called Adam McKay, who has previously done a lot of comedies in the past, some of which have been political satires, which include Anchorman, its sequel, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Step Brothers, and most recently, Vice. And having seen a few of them, some of his films are a little bit hit and miss. Some are good and some are a little bit average. And Don't Look Up is basically a political satire of 21st century popular culture. And I'm not really a big fan of films like this, but it is creative in the sense that it pokes fun at certain things within modern culture, like celebrity status, like social media, like certain politicians. I mean, I'm no American, but you can just feel the wit and the undertones of stabbing at Donald Trump during his presidency, particularly through Meryl Streep's character, which I'll talk about a bit later on, but more importantly through certain social issues that we do experience today. So despite being a satire story that is a rip-off of society, it does touch upon genuine issues, and that was helped by certain visual cues that were implemented in the film to give us that understanding, particularly in scenes that involves news broadcasts and interviews where a character expresses these things, particularly Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence's characters do, but can also be twisted in a way that influences the public. And it's quite scary actually, because it's pretty accurate in terms of how we are as a society now. So in that respect, it's more like a documentary than it is as a fiction. So from a psychological standpoint, you do see the severity of the media and its influence within society and how people have an understanding or an opinion of the world that we live in. But at the same time, and this is where I do applaud it, is that you do see the funny side of it, and that is through the wit and the screenwriting, making fun of ourselves and how we live today. And it's a bit of a coincidence actually, because the film is about a comet and people don't believe that it's happening and the government are trying to cover it up, etc. It's a bit like the coronavirus pandemic, where people aren't perceiving it as seriously. People have their opinions in the media and people perceive it from the media, and it's just unusual and coincidental again how they kind of come together at this particular time. But overall the humour worked in this film because it wasn't something that was absolutely hysterical. I wasn't like laughing out loud all the time. It was just entertaining in a kind of amusing way. It wasn't something that I'd just go and bawl out with laughter at. It was just something that was just a slight chuckle, and that's it really, because it is a black comedy and most black comedies are exactly like that. But despite the visual cues that were very unique and very different, it was also quite frustrating because the actual production process was a little bit off point for me. And I don't know if this was deliberate, and maybe I've misunderstood this, but I just thought the editing was a little bit disjointed and the actual pacing of the story got a little bit too stretched. In fact, they could have probably trimmed at least half an hour. And I think largely that was due to the fact that a lot of scenes in this film were just going round in circles continuously, and it just lacked a bit of flow for me. But I think despite that though, the way that we perceive the media these days is very genuine and very true, but how it did it in a witty and humorous way worked for the film. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, it has an absolutely terrific ensemble cast. Leo DiCaprio, who is truly one of the best film stars in the world, as I've already said again, and this film is no exception. He did an absolutely fantastic job. I think it's extraordinary how he's transformed now, and I guess age might have something to do with it. In fact, you could barely recognise him in Don't Look Up. And in this film, DiCaprio plays Dr. Randall Mindy, who in my opinion is a really strong match for a DiCaprio black comedy. And I think it's something that, besides a very serious story, DiCaprio works well nowadays in a black comedy, as we found out in previous films like Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. So there's always a degree of seriousness behind Leo DiCaprio's performances, but he also still brings a sense of comedic charm who we can all laugh at. And what I liked about Randall Mindy's character was that despite being experienced in the industry for so many years, but he's also someone for me who, as I was watching him, felt very much out of his depth, where he often had emotional breakdowns on television, where he was struggling with his work and when he was struggling with his personal life. And I think it just goes to show, even when you are trying to explain to people the severity of a certain situation, in this case, that the world is going to end, literally, it really takes a toll on you because you're trying to persuade people while also trying to give yourself an ounce of credibility during the last few days, weeks, months of your life. So he's trying to be authentic, but does it in a very witty, unusual way. And huge credit does go to Leo DiCaprio for that performance. And Jennifer Lawrence plays Kate DiBiase, who is a PhD candidate and assistant to Randall Mindy, and she's the one who discovered the comet. And in relation to the wit and the humour of the film, and DiBiase's character, and also Lawrence's performance, it's showing that her scientific knowledge is expanding from working on her PhD and her experience alongside Randall Mindy, but from a social perspective, the naivety of youth. And it's not necessarily her, but it's more so how people perceive her within the media, especially when she reveals that the comet is coming to end the world and that the government need to do something now to stop it from happening. People did memes and gifs of the character in the film and just perceived her as this crazy girl. So in many ways, again, she was speaking the truth of a serious situation, but no one was taking it seriously enough, or they just didn't want to hear it and they just used it as a deflection and as a scapegoat to use against her, which in many ways has been the world for the past near 2 years. Again, like Leo DiCaprio, I really enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence's performance in this, and I think she should be tipped for an Oscar nomination. Now, a character I really liked was Meryl Streep as President Orlean. Now, of course, it's Meryl Streep. She's practically invincible, isn't she? You know, every single film she's in, she delivers a fantastic performance. You know, the woman's earned 24, 25 Oscar nominations, including 3 wins. She's probably the greatest actress to have ever lived. And in this film, she plays a female president, which in many ways I think is a little subtle dig at Hillary Clinton. I mentioned earlier about Donald Trump, and her character does show little subtle hints of how Donald Trump was as a president. But I think because she's a woman, it might be McKay's personal opinion on who should have been president at that particular time. And her character is quite bizarre, where she has her own ideologies and her own understanding of the comet and what she should do in response to it and the media, etc. But like I said, Meryl Streep is just an absolute breath of fresh air in this film, and I thought she did an absolutely fantastic job as well. And there were other actors in this film who had a significant part in it as well, including Cate Blanchett, Jonah Hill, Mark Rylance, and Ariana Grande, which is bizarre in itself because there's a lot more music stars who are breaking out into Hollywood and gaining a second career, basically. We've seen it with Lady Gaga, we're seeing it with Harry Styles, and now Ariana Grande. Whether she'll do more or not, I don't know, but I think her involvement in this film does reference today's culture and how people are influenced so significantly by the press and the media. So overall, Don't Look Up is a film you'll either really appreciate or one that you won't. I like the concept of the story and it does work, but I just thought the actual production process and the actual finished items slightly let it down a little bit for me. But I think what I appreciated the most about this film was the truth of how the media influences the society that we live in now so much, and how deceitful politicians can really be. So what did you think of Don't Look Up? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What do you think its Oscar chances are? Do you think it'll get a lot of Oscar nominations, or do you think it shouldn't get any at all? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you're going to enjoy this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and to have a notification bell tick so you're notified when I upload a new video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.